Welcome, everybody. It's Instructor E. Let's talk reconnaissance. And the perfect tool when it comes to reconnaissance is Nmap. Now, there are a lot of times as a computer forensics specialist when you will have to use the Nmap tool that's in Kali Linux. Uh, it's a tool I use in a lot of my digital forensic investigations. Um, Especially like in cases, let's say I was called to a house and I suspected there were several devices on the network. Well, I might do an Nmap scan of that network to see which devices are plugged into that network because sometimes you can't see all the devices. But if I have a rough count, then I'll know that I'm looking for 8 devices, 9 devices. Another use for this tool is, let's say that I started a company. Of course, I wouldn't run this tool without consulting everybody. Let's say I had a network and I had unknown devices attached to it. I might run an Nmap scan to see how many unknown devices, especially in networks where employees will bring their own device and they'll just hook it up to your network. You need to know every now and then if there's some um, points of entry on your network, and Nmap is a tool that can show you what devices are connected to that network. In this case, we're going to use it just for demonstrative purposes to gather some intelligence on our Windows 10 machine. So in the previous video, I showed you how to network these two together, and they're networked together. So let's begin. So we're going to go to the terminal here. The terminal tool, you can click up here, or you can use the keyboard shortcut of Control Alt T. Well, let me click on it so we're on there. Control Alt T. And that brings up our terminal. Now, Nmap is a terminal tool. You have to use it within the terminal. So let's just take a look at some of the different features on Nmap. We'll just put an Nmap here. And if you can use the man pages or dash dash help, but this gives you kind of a short list of different modifiers and things that you could put on your Nmap scan. We can do a ping scan with dash N. We can treat all hosts online with the dash PN. That's what I use a lot. We can use different packet captures with some of these commands. Well, I'm sorry, not packet captures, excuse me. We can send out different types of packages using these right here. These are all TCP. Dash SV to get the version of um, the operating system. And it can do open ports. .o is one I use a lot to enable operating system detection. And I'm going to show you what all this is. But there's a whole ton of different options. So this has to be run with the sudo command. We're going to, right now, what we're going to do is we're going to scan the whole entire network. We're going to pretend that we're hooked up to a network. We don't know any IP addresses. So how do we know where to start scanning at? Well, first thing I do after I connect it to a network, let's say it's an open Wi-Fi, I connect. It's probably going to use DHCP to connect your device automatically. I'll run an ifconfig. Once I run an ifconfig, I can see my IP address right here. So if I know my IP address, then I know the subnets that I need to start running, the IP address network I need to run on, as well as give me the subnet. So I'm going to go back to Nmap. Like I said, you have to use sudo, or you have to use the root account. But I'm going to do sudo nmap 192, let's see, 192.168.0.0. I'm going to use a CIDR notation to notate the subnet, right? And I need to change that to 1 because we need to start the very first IP address. So, and we just want to see what devices are on this network. So we're going to hit enter. It's going to ask me for my username because I'm using sudo. And so Nmap is going to start scanning. It's going to scan. It's going to start looking. Right now it's looking for DNS entries to see if there's any DNS servers on the network where it can pull like the DNS records. But Nmap has scanned and it came back with 2. So we have 192.168.0.11 and we have 192.168.0.10 on this network. Now, if you remember, the .10 is me. So this .11 means there's somewhere else. Now, I can go ahead and about guess this is a Windows machine because these are common window ports that are normally open, especially with the little hint of Microsoft. Again, this is all about reconnaissance. We're just gathering information that could be useful to us later if we want to try to run some type of exploit. So let's see if we can figure out any more specific information about this machine. We're going to do a Nmap scan. This time, we're going to add -sv to see if we can get the version .o. See if we can -o to see if we can get the operating system. And I'm going to do a couple of ping scans along with that. And we know that the address that we need is 192.168.0.11, if you remember that from this up here. So let's see what information we can come back with on this. Oh yeah, we need to do sudo. So I'm going to use the up arrow to bring this back. And we're just going to throw the sudo in there. Going to hit enter. And again, we're just waiting for it to scan the network, that device specifically, actually, in this case. But Nmap is a very useful tool. Um, you can decipher a lot of information from it. And it came back and it's showing us that those TCP ports, once again, are open. The versions on those TCP ports. It's also showing us a MAC address. Then we see that it's running Windows 10. And it's also showing us the bill number on it. So why is this important? I can use this information to go back and do some research to see any vulnerabilities that were shown for Windows 10 devices. I can also go back and I can look at various ports to see what exploits I can run through those ports. But this is on a Windows 10 machine that doesn't have the firewall going. Let's turn the firewall on and see if it makes any difference. Well, actually, we'll just go and turn on Windows Defender. Turn it on real quick, hit OK. Now the firewall's going. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to do that same last scan to see if there's anything, see if we get any information back. And again, this is just a show. You know, what happens if we do have the firewall on? Do the firewall protect us? Or we afford any protections at all? So we definitely want to keep that in mind when we're looking. And so this just has the basic firewall configuration to it. There's nothing special to it. It's just a static one that is set with Windows. Well, we see that came back with a MAC address, came back with IP address, but there are no specific OS details going. So that's limited the details that we get back from the machine. So you can see how having your firewall, Windows Defender up can make a difference. And again, this is not really even a restrictive because this is just the stock firewall that installs with Windows. So we'll get a little bit deeper into this, in another video. But I just want to show you a way of doing reconnaissance on a network. This is just for demonstration purposes. Do not go scanning networks because a lot of networks have firewalls and IDS and IPS in place that will flag you. Don't do it on the open, any open system. We just doing it just here on our devices, okay? So, hope that you learned something from this video, and we'll dig a little deeper next video. Thank you.